Okay, hi guys. This is a video to go over how to respond to inferencing questions. So the ones that are in red are inferencing questions specifically. The ones that are in black, so numbers 1, 3, and 4, and then also 6 and 7, those questions are all pretty explicit, especially 1, 3, and 4. Numbers 6 and 7 are opinion questions, so they don't really ask you to make inferences. They're asking you more to draw a conclusion. Um, but I want to focus today with you on just the making inferences, because when you think about making an inference, you really have to think about, well, what does that really mean? What is the question asking me to do? And inferencing questions have you dealing with um, well, what do I know in my head? What's my own prior knowledge that I bring to this question? And then also it is, well, what can I draw from the text, or what can I pull away from the movie in this case? Okay. Before I get too far into this, I know that it was really frustrating for me to watch the movie and have to keep checking on the time. So when the 10 minutes and 41 seconds happens is when the person is on the bridge. So that might help you kind of to get a reference point. So my way of approaching this would be to, first of all, know where the question's probably going to happen or what I need to be watching or looking for. So at the very beginning of the video or the movie, okay, they're going to be looking at a funeral. And that information, again, is explicit. So I know that somewhere after number 1, so somewhere after the funeral in the movie, is going to be where I see this nanny, okay, where the nanny's going to appear. And then I'm going to have to make my inferences from there. Number 2 actually is a two-part question. So the first part, the why do you think the movie includes a nanny telling two children the story of Dr. Jekyll? I'm gonna highlight that in one color. Okay. And then the second part of the question, what is the point of adding these characters to the movie since they don't appear in the book? Oops, I keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, I'm gonna make those in green. So that's hideous colors. I apologize. So the first part is, why do you think the movie includes a nanny telling two children the story of Dr. Jekyll? The way that I have to approach this is I really have to think about, um, what do I know about nannies? Okay, what do I know about what their job is, what their function is? So, my prior knowledge, I'm just going to write this so you kind of had some information to reference, but my prior knowledge, I know the job of a nanny. So, what I mean by that is specifically what their purpose is in a house. Um, One of the things that I like to think about is, well, can I make a connection to something else? And in this case, I was watching Peter Pan with my kids this week. So I made a connection to Peter Pan and thinking about the dog Nana in the movie and how the dog's job was to care after the children, to make sure that their best interests were always looked upon, and to make sure that they kind of understood what was going on. So my knowledge of what the job of a nanny is and what their job in the home to do is the fact that they're to take care of the children. So why would a nanny be telling this? I also have to think about, okay? So things to think about are, okay, the type of story this is. And if you really think about it and you're a little kid watching it, it's kind of like a scary story, right? So it can be pretty scary to little kids. If you think about a person who's going to change from one person to another, that can be pretty intimidating. So if I think about the type of story that this is and the fact that it can be pretty scary, okay, then I have to think about, so then why would a nanny make it better? Make the story better for kids. Those are the types of things that I want to think about when I'm going to answer the first part of that question. Okay. And then my question, I'm going to respond with number 1, I'm going to restate the question. Okay. So it's going to read something like, I think the movie includes a nanny because, and then you're going to tell me why, okay? And then I'm going to write something like, so if I said, I think the movie includes a nanny because their job is to take care of the children, and then I'm going to put, since a nanny's job is to care for children, care for the children in the home, she would want to maybe make the story less scary for them, less scary, and maybe more understandable. And then, so that's the first part of the question. So you have to restate, and I apologize, you have to then also, the first part is you're going to restate and answer the question. Okay, and then this second part is actually right here. And this part, so I restated, I think the movie includes a nanny because, and then restate and answer, and then I'm going to explain it. Okay, and that's my explanation. So that's part one. Apologize for my typing. The next is going to be to answer that second question. Well, what is the point of adding these characters? So again, I'm going to restate and answer the question. Oh boy. Okay. And I'm going to restate it as the point of adding these characters to the movie is to, and then I'm going to explain it, okay? So again, I had to think about, well, what prior knowledge do I bring to this? So the things that I think about for my prior knowledge on this question are the things about the fact that, well, what's the purpose of a cartoon? Okay, so why is it a cartoon? So slash, like, who does it appeal to? And you think about the audience. So who might watch this movie? Okay, so why is it a cartoon? Why is the audience probably going to be in more children than adults? All right, so that's the first thing I'm going to think about for why you would have those types of characters. And I also would say, so if it's a cartoon and it appeals to kids, okay, so your audience is going to be kids, then I'm going to say, well, then these characters make it easy to understand, easy to follow, more interesting, etc. Okay, so if I restate the question up here, I'm going to shoot back up here. If I've restated and answered the question, the point of adding these characters to the movie is to, then again, my next part is to explain. Okay, and I might say something like, the book version might be might be hard to follow and too scary for kids. So the addition of these characters to the movie make it less, instead of saying that, sorry, I'm kind of thinking as I write, but so the addition of these characters to the movie make it easier for children to follow and maybe not so scary when Dr. Jekyll tests his theory. Okay, so again, I've restated each of my questions and then I've answered them and explained them. Okay, make sure you're kind of getting in touch with me if you have questions on that. Let me shoot down to number 5. So why why does he choose the name Hyde? So when I think about why does he choose that name, all right, I have to pay attention to where in the film that happens, okay? And so if I'm looking at the order of the questions, because they go in chronological, which means time, haha, Greek and Latin, okay, time order. So we go from the nanny telling the story to Dr. Jekyll's theory to what he hopes to do, okay? And then I'm going to look at, well, this guy Hyde comes around and what's his purpose? And remember, the words hide and hide, you have to think about, well, what do those words actually mean? Okay, so if I had to put them together, what are those, what literary term are those things called? See if you can figure that out, but it's a word that is spelled differently, right? But it kind of might coincide with the other. Sorry, give me one moment. My child is coming in here. So if you have to think about it, these are two words that they don't have the same spelling, right? But they kind of go into it where they're actually called a pun. It's a play on the words. I wonder if he came up with that one. So why does he want to call himself Hyde? What's the purpose of that? And think about, okay, so the things I would think about are hide and seek, the game, okay, and the goal of that game. Okay, and then that would help me to understand why he chose that. I'm hoping that this helps you. When you go down to answer number 6 and 7, you have to think about, well, we haven't really read a lot of the book yet, but that's okay. So you really want to pay attention to, well, if this is the book and this is what's happening, here's what I already know, and here's how it's different. So for instance, our book starts with Mr. Utterson and telling us about how he's a lawyer, versus this one starts with a funeral and then a nanny telling a story. So they're incredibly different. So when I think about the similarities, well, then I have to think more about characters, and I have to think about, well, what characters might be there that are the same? Do they have the same jobs? Are they the same type of people? Things like that. And then, well, which one do I like? Well, that's very opinionated, but make sure you tell us why. I remember in the book it said this, or Mr. Utterson read the will to learn about Mr. Hyde. But in the movie, I like this better. Okay, so compare them to each other. If you have any questions, again, please let me know. I have office hours, as well as you can always shoot me an email, and we can have either a video to video type of a chat, so a Zoom. We can email back and forth. You can share your document with me, etc. Thank you so much. Bye.